Or do I press start?
Yeah.
Second, let me fix that. Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. It's babies and everybody. So I have a few words that I put together last night based on something that I hope will set the tone. Malki has a few words, Elisheva also, and then we're going to play the video that Ari made last year, the slideshow. It's still good. And then if anybody else wants to say a few words, especially it'll bring a smile to our faces, as you'll see. So let me start. Okay. So I was struck by something in the Parsha this week that more specifically something that was not in the Parsha. You may have heard me say that in the class that I've been attending for over 20 years with my teacher Asnat Braverman Shiloh, we're working on a concordance of things that are not written in the Tanakh. It's much harder than the concordance of the things that are written, but we're making good progress. So what's not in this parsha? This parsha doesn't have anything negative in it. No disappointment, no missed opportunities, no flood, no plague, famine, infertility, no selling siblings into slavery, no dancing around golden calves. And it's not for lack of opportunity. This is the parsha where Moshe Rabbeinu asked people to donate to the building of the Mishkan, the tabernacle. And anyone who's ever tried to get people to donate to a shul building or any cause really can imagine the verses that weren't written here. The ones about people pretending they didn't hear or don't have anything to spare, or they gave at the office and that vacation was in frequent flyer miles, etc. Which aliyah am I getting and where is my plaque? They weren't even allowed to see, allowed inside the Mishkan to see what their donations were being used for, never mind plaques. But those verses aren't there. Instead, they gave with enthusiasm and pride. They gave of their possessions and of their time. And these freed slaves that had nothing, that carried these things on their backs as they traveled from Egypt, they gave. And also, the project managers and artisans, Betzalel ben Uri ben Hur of Yehuda, and Oliav ben Samach of Dan, you don't hear, why was he chosen? He's Moshe's nephew, or why nobody from Ruvain, we're the eldest, or fights between Yehuda and Dan because they're from different parts of the nation. No, everyone accepts them and they work well together and everything gets done. Also, everything got done for requirements, on time, on schedule, on budget. It's just a remarkably positive parsha, everything going well like that. So this year, I just want to remember my father's smiles, his positivity, his generosity, and the phrase that is repeated most often in this parsha and the things that are written, which is zahav tahor, pure gold. So on that note, the note of pure gold and the positivity, I think maybe Elisheva.
I'm gonna say a little story from the Gemara that reminded me a lot of Dedushka. The story goes like this. Eliyahu Navi comes to a rabbi to visit. And the rabbi asked Eliyahu Navi, is anybody here in the market have the zchut to be in Olam Haba? Do they have the merits to be part of the world to come? And he points to two men and he says, they have the merits to be in the world to come. So he runs to them and he says, "What do you do?" And they say, "We're jokers, we're jokesters. When we see sad people, we go to them and we make them laugh. And when we see two people that are fighting, we make peace." And it just really reminded me of Dedushka, because at the end of the day, I would come to him sometimes tired or upset about something, and he would say something stupid and something funny, and I'd just like laugh, and it all become less serious. You know, he'd say, "Oh, I'll throw them in the toilet," or, "Oh, this doesn't matter," and you know, just like funny jokes, and everything that seemed so serious was suddenly not so bad anymore. And so that reminded me a lot of my Dedushka. And another thing I wanted to say is that it was impossible not to love Dedushka. To know him is to love him. Everyone loved him. And in Daniel's birth, we named him Daniel Pinchas, and we gave him a bracha that it will be impossible not to love him. And Daniel just has the same spark in his eyes. This, you know, you take a picture of him, he's always smiling, always that slight mischievous look, and that, you know, he's a jokester. Today, every time he finds something that makes you laugh, he does it again and again and again. Like his whole purpose in life is to just make you laugh. And I see so much of Dedushka in my little boy Tik. And that, you know, gives me joy. And I wish he could have known him, because I think they would have really loved each other.
That's very sweet. Yeah, he was born, I was just looking at what I said last year, and it was right after he was born and right before his bris. So we didn't even say that he was named after him. And now he is almost a year old.
So Kira, Elisheva mentioned Eliyahu Hanavi, and there's unfortunately a war going on between Ukraine and Russia at the moment. And I think that there's a very fitting story that you know better than I do that you might want to mention at this point.
About how,
All the sun's coming back, graveyard, yeah. Something.
This is the Ascara, but we're not on video, so we just sign up, be polite. Let's work over there.
Yeah, but actually, first, could you first tell that? I'll remember that one. Could you first tell this what you wanted to say earlier? Yes.
Sure. So what I wanted to say, Natasha started off praising me for being a really good super daddy. That's the name that my children chose. And the truth is that every time I'm with my grandchildren, I always remember Dedushka. You know, I remember Dedushka, you know, always being with the grandchildren, all the children, you know, running around with him. He would pick them up from school virtually every day and take them to the candy store and spoil them. And, you know, I always think that when I'm with the grandchildren, I'm always channeling Dedushka. And what really strikes me now is how tiring it is. You know, Baruch Hashem, I'm fairly young and I have a lot of energy and stuff. But, you know, sometimes I watch the children and I'm absolutely exhausted. And the truth, I don't know how he had this energy. He was a bit older than I was. He, you know, he came from Russia and stuff. He had a hard life, and he always had an infinite amount of energy for the children. I always think that, you know, when I'm thinking about how to be a grandfather, and I think I'm an okay grandfather. I'm always thinking of Dedushka, and I'm really channeling his energy, his warmth, and his you know, unconditional love for the grandchildren.
And Malki, you had something also prepared?
So I'm doing Nach Yomi. I started this past summer. Nach Yomi is where you study one chapter of the prophets or the writings from the Torah. Every single day you do one chapter. Right now, we happen to be in the Shimshon cycle, which, interestingly enough, happens to be the only time that a riddle is ever told in the Tanakh. This is it. It's here. And it's kind of esoteric because as I'm like looking like why like Shimshon is marrying this Philistine girl, and he had undergone this really bizarre experience where a lion comes roaring at him and he rips it apart, and he comes back to the carcass later and discovers a beehive in it. The whole thing's really bizarre. But then he decides to use it to tell a riddle to his cohort among the Philistines. And it's not really clear in the text, like, why is he doing this? Like the most obvious thing is that he's just making trouble. And he's definitely This is definitely not about bonding. This is about, I want you all to know that I know things that you don't know. Now, Dad, as we all know, was also a jokester. Now, Eileen and Seth, I'm going to need you on this, okay? Are you guys here? Eileen, Seth, I can't see them. Okay, here. Okay, you'll fix that. Okay, so the thing about riddles and the thing about jokes is that they don't always translate between languages. You know, like why was 6 afraid of 7? And you answer it in Hebrew. You know, ki shesh sheva shmona. It makes absolutely no sense. Sheva shmona tesha. Thank you. Get the right numbers right. It makes absolutely no sense. Right? And there are jokes that don't necessarily translate between cultures, but none of this ever stopped Dad. And when Dad wanted to tell a joke and Dad wanted to tell a story, it might get lost in translation. It might get lost in cultural translation. This never bothered him. But the most amazing part, Seth, you're here? Seth, yeah? Okay, because you remember this way better than I do, is that the most amazing thing is that some of the jokes of Dad people may or may not remember them, but the punchlines and the laughter and just the pure joy of the telling, that's still here with us. Seth, can I ask you to tell the most famous one is Monkey?
All I can tell is the punchline, because I don't remember the joke didn't make any sense. It was, what was it? It was not crocodile, it was monkey. Or maybe the other way around.
It was not monkey.
It was not monkey, it was crocodile. But it didn't matter because we all laughed.
Right, and the most amazing thing is that this is still a catchphrase for when maybe a situation doesn't entirely make like all of the most perfect sense. Those who are in the know, Dedushka's friends will often say, is not monkey, is crocodile. So I think that that's like a really remarkable thing that, you know, Dad loved to tell jokes, but we may not have, like, people may not have always understood the context that he was coming from, but the joy, wow, the joy is still here with us.
If anybody knows any of those actual jokes, I don't know, Natasha Gisa. I tried to get cousin Sasha to come, but he wasn't available. He probably knows.
They're not all appropriate for this forum.
We'll have to have a special one just for that.
Hey, Kira, did you just unmute us?
Yeah, I think Lisa was trying to say something.
No, we were just trying to remember the joke, but I don't think. No,
I don't remember. You remember a different joke? That's also good. Okay. Anyway, if anybody else does, that's also fine. But I've got the elephants, because he would often say, well, if it's happy, somebody's happy, it's not just happy, it's happy like 3 elephants. So when we went to see actual elephants, so all the elephants are for him.
Is it okay to tell something that's not a joke?
Sure. If you
okay, I'm sorry you can't see me. So I don't have my TV working. But Peter took me aside many years ago before I had any grandchildren, and he told me, and Yossi, this is just exactly along the lines of what you said. He told me, he said, Mark, all being well, someday you'll have grandchildren. When you do, spend as much time as you possibly can with them. And I've taken that advice to heart. And anybody who I see who has grandchildren or is about to have grandchildren, I say, there's this old fellow I knew with white hair. You can't see me, so you can't see my white hair, but who I knew with white hair. And, he gave me this absolute gem of advice. And I've tried to follow that advice. And Yossi, I hear what you say, and it's very beautiful. I always think of Peter so much in this context. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark.
I'm also a grandfather. I didn't think of that in that context. I thought of Peter as a friend, not as a companion to grandfatherness, but certainly we can look up to him in that as well. But we looked up to him in so many ways. And I'm always reminded of the bar mitzvah we made. because his story, like when he was, I think when he was 12, his parents, or he still had grandparents somewhere in Russia where he went to shul. But when it came time for a bar mitzvah, his father was in the Red Army, and if he went to have a bar mitzvah in shul, his father would be out of a job, out of everything. So he didn't have a bar mitzvah. And I think of how, on the one hand, no matter who you are and what your background is, to be such a beautiful person like Peter that we looked up to is not taken for granted. And where he came from, to be such a mensch and to be such a, what's the word? I'm not good. These are not the terms I'm used to using, but I think of Peter, it's so appropriate that such an erlich hayid, such a sweet person. He's so sure of and so loving of his Judaism, thinking of where he came from and what his upbringing was and where he brought his family, and coming to Israel and being, living in Israel and being an Israeli. It's just a big wow, and it was such a privilege, it was how do you say, an inspiration for us to have him around. I think for all of us, younger generation, I mean, those who are younger than me also, right? Whether you're 15, 20 or whatever, it's so not taken for granted. They had a person coming from where he was coming from, and he was walking around us with us. It was really something special for all of us to understand where Am Yisrael came from and where we are now. It was really special, and to have it with his personality was great.
Yeah.
Reb Tzvi, I remember at Dedushka's funeral, you said that he came from a country where his parents and grandparents were in the Russian army, and how his children are in the Israeli army. It was very nice.
Some story.
Yes.
Actually, and that takes me to the story Yossi wanted me to say earlier. Actually, I saw a few memes about Zelensky, about how he came from a family where there were 4 brothers and 3 of them were killed by the Nazis, by the Germans. That was the common story of all of the majority of Russia in general. And so my father's father, my grandfather, was one of 3 sons. And they were all drafted by the Russian army to fight the Nazis in World War II from the Ukraine. And most, they knew what the casualties were going to be like, and they were very worried. So their father, Matel, that Malki's named after, the owner of the Talus that you guys know. He was very worried, and then one night he had a dream, and this old man came to him in the dream and said, "Don't worry, all the Rosenberg boys will come back safe." There were also some cousins in addition to these 3 boys. I think there were 2 cousins. He said, yeah. And sure enough, they all came back safe with not only alive, but also with all their limbs still attached, which was also not so common. So that's one of the Eliyahu and Navi stories, and that's when he said he was going to shul, and his wife, my great grandmother Esther, the Chaviva is named after. So she gave him as a present for one of his birthdays. She gave him a set of chumashim, and then he gave one to each of the boys for their bar mitzvah, and made sure to set aside one for Ari as well.
I got the cup. I didn't get a
right. You're right. Except for you, who got the cup. So
actually, I might as well say that quickly. Can you look at the cup? It's drying up once. It's not drying. So when I was a kid, before Dedushka made Aliyah, I remember him taking me aside and he's showing me this cup. And he said, this cup was a birthday gift, 40th birthday to my grandfather. And his name was Natan, and you're named after him. And when you turn bar mitzvah, this is going to be yours. And he said, and I want you to make Kiddush with this every Shabbos that you can. Or so this is my Kiddush cup. And I'm very, very, like when people come over, I usually tell them the story about the cup. That's my great-great-grandfather's that I'm named after. And every time I have to make Kiddush, I choose to make Kiddush on this cup.
Right, so it's your great-grandfather who gave it to your, yes, it's your great-grandfather's, your great-great-grandfather gave it.
My great-great-grandfather gave it to my great-grandfather, who I am named after. My grandfather gave it to me.
That's
right.
And
I joke that I will give, that my great-great-grandson, who is named after me, he'll be the first one, will be the one to get it.
Well, you might need an extra grade there with the way things are going. God
point still stands.
Hi, I'm so sorry to interrupt. We're talking in Russian a little bit. And for those of you who don't know, the person you're talking about is actually Gisa's dad. Yeah. Well,
everybody else here also knows Gisa.
Yeah, great. So we were just saying, and I was saying, like, what do you think your dad would say to that you're using the cup every Kiddush? And she was just saying that he would be very, very happy and very thrilled. So
who would have guessed? What is it? What year does it say there, Natan? 1956, I think.
Yeah, 56. It says for your 40th. I believe it says for your 40th birthday in 1956.
Right. So I don't think he was making Kiddush in 1956, Gisa. No. So it was an article of faith. You know what I mean? Faith that somebody will be making Kiddush on this Kiddush cup.
Okay, I can. If you finish, I'll tell you another story about your father. At Nathaniel's bris, your father went around the room pointing at various Russian people that had joined recently. He said, he's been here for 18 months. He just had his bris. He was here for 2 years. He just had his. Just went in the room pointing at various people. He said, I'm 52 years old now. And this is the first time in 52 years that a boy had a bris bismano in my family.
That's it. But
I'm one of the people who did see Peter as a grandfather figure, and he did a lot of grandfather things for me. He gave me advice, and he gave me encouragement, and he asked about how my week was, and I was treasured the relationship with him. And I feel lucky tonight that maybe I can give something back to him like a grandchild might give to his grandfather. And that is the context for the story of Not Monkey Crocodile. There in the mid-1960s, there was a children's book called Crocodile Gena и его друзья, the Gena, the crocodile and his friends. And it was I think I checked, I have sharing power, so I'm gonna show you something here. And as you can see, there's Gena, the crocodile, and next to him is his friend Dedushka, who was described as a creature unknown to science, and he was his friend. And Dedushka would ate like banana somewhere and then fell asleep, and then wherever in the tropics he lived, he was in the crate and got on the ship and was brought to Moscow. And then he became friends with the crocodile. And there are a lot of stories and jokes about the crocodile and his friends. And when I think it was Dino was a baby, Diana's uncle, Leonya, brought her a stuffed crocodile Gena, which we probably still have. So it allows us to feel close to Peter now, knowing that that was one of his signature jokes. And it gives me just a feeling of privilege to have another connection to him, because his presence in our lives was so precious and valued. And we think about him a lot, and we still miss him and love him.
That's really sweet. Thank you. So I would like to now share the video clip that Ray had made. Let's see. You could see it, right? Yeah. Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thank you again, Ari, for making that.
Job, Ari.
I'm glad to.
Very touching.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I would just like to say there are two things that really exemplifies Peter for me. Amor ma'at va'aseh harbe. And another one, Ezehu Ashia Hasamech B'Fel Kol. And I think that sort of typifies how Peter was. Say little, but do much. And who is a rich man? The one who's his life. And that was Peter.
Could we hear a word from Natasha or Angisa or Jay?
Do you want tears?
Yes.
You know me and Gisa, how it's gonna end. Every time I see this movie, I want time machine. I just want time machine so badly.
Yeah.
That energy that comes from him, from his pictures, from. And And I just want to echo the shower. When I was holding Danielle, I was so lucky to see them last month. I felt Peter. I couldn't stop hugging him. It just, this baby's. Yossi, you mute.
I'm making faces and I yell at who's pointing to Super Daddy, but keep going.
No, that's it. We all miss him a lot.
I miss him more than anything because he would have loved to see the ninim, the great-grandchildren, which is,
Yes.
a pleasure that, generations ago that people never had. To see a great-grandchild was something unheard of. And, I'm really sorry that he missed that. He would have absolutely loved it. And, I clearly love every minute of being a grandfather, and he would have loved every minute of being a great-grandfather.
Yes.
Yossi, you missed one thing. He was a great grandfather.
Very good. A super grandfather.
I felt like he was my grandfather, and he was probably only about 10, 15 years old. Maybe it was wishful thinking, but he
Gisa, would you like to say something, Gisa?
Да, yes, yes.
Или я могу по-русски переводить. Что ты хочешь?
Хочу.
Go ahead, Gisa.
Okay.
Do you want to go in Russian and I'll translate?
По-английски.
Ну, надо что-то сказать. You have to speak.
You're
unmuted. I unmuted you.
I didn't understand. I thought that it's my wish is enough. Just to.
No, you can just speak. They all can hear you. Если ты хочешь, я могу по-русски.
Я хочу по-английски.
Окей, так говори.
Говорю. Вот не меняется. They want Yossi.
Okay, let me mute for a second and then we'll come back.
Jay, would you like to say a word?
Hi, I'll try. I'm outside. It's very windy. I wrote to you guys. My phone is dying. I'm so sorry. I can't stay. I don't know. When I think of Petya, I always think of the word mensch. And I don't know. To me, he was so gentle, but I always felt that there's this inner strength, And every time something happens, I'm always curious how he would react. Even now with what's going on in Ukraine, I'm curious how proud he would be of our president, right? Of that country that chose a Jewish president and now it's fighting for its freedom. And I don't know, I'm not sure exactly how to tie it in, but I think about him so much and what advice he would give me. And I always try to adhere to that, to make him proud and thereby make his parents proud, who I never knew. But being around him, I always thought, when I hugged him, I always thought maybe this is what my grandfather's hug felt like, or maybe that's what his skin smelled like. And I remember when I was with him, I just wanted to engulf him and soak him up, and just, there's all this love that just poured out of him. And yeah, I miss him very much too. I wish my daughter met him. I talk a lot about Petya with her. She knows him, even though she never met him. And I urge you guys to talk to your kids and your grandkids. By you, I mean all of you, the younger ones. It's important to know who was here before us. I hope you guys could hear me. It's very noisy.
Yeah, we hear you perfectly. Thank you, Jane.
Yeah. Кирочка.
Yeah.
Now.
Петенька, call kids, Shane Punem, Hedeker Punem, so something else Punem. He would not have enough word to call all his grandchildren. Shane Punem, Hedeker Punem, Hedeker Punem.
Oh, okay, so who wants to do the call out of all the punims? Chaviva, that's you, right?
Yes.
All the punims.
So, I mean, all the girls got punims. The boys got only oldest grandson, second oldest grandson, middle oldest grandson, youngest grandson.
No.
It was great grandson and great great grandson and great 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 grandson.
No, guys. I remember this very, very clearly because it went like this. Dad was the oldest grandson, right? But then Dad felt that middle was somehow insulting, which is how Shaya became the youngest grandson.
No, Rami was the
youngest
grandson.
When Raya was born, Dedushka asked me for permission when Raya was born, if he can call me the middle grandchild, and I said yes. So when Raya was born, I was the middle grandchild, but that did not change once Hadar was born. So I stayed the middle.
Anyway,
no.
Wait, anyway, but ask Aviva about the punims.
Okay, punims are different.
Shayna.
Aviva, you're a punim.
I was punim. Oh, I was punim. You were Shayna punim?
No, the difference.
No, the difference. Hadari was, was Raya, Shayna Maidala, and then there was, Hadari was Pupsik, looked like a gorgeous doll. I don't remember what Orbeez was. Shayna Pupsik?
Orbeez was Shayner.
Shayna Pupsik.
No, just Shayner.
And then I saw a picture of Smushy the other day that didn't look like her at all. But the first thing that I thought in my head was, oh, Pupsik, because she looked like such a doll in the picture.
I call Ayala my Shayner punim because Natasha said that she was called Shayner punim. So confusion is every generation it restarts. So Ayala to Shayner
you can say, guys, all you want. I was the first punim. I was the first baby in the family, and I was the first punim, and I was always punim. And that to the extent that I thought my name was Punim. So I'm Punim. And then all of you came. So you can say all you want. I'm the Punim. The first one. Sorry.
That's right. And Rami was, for some reason, the youngest grandson. I don't know.
No, Rami was the very youngest. And then Dad just kept adding berries for every grandson after that. So he'd be out walking with Dad and he would be introducing his grandchild. And this is my very, very, very youngest grandson. I'm pretty sure that was Nadiv or Yair, one of those. And Dad just kept adding a very for every kid. People would just be very, very confused. I thought very confused. I thought,
depending who they were with.
Right. So yeah, that was how it was.
And also, you would say that if he wanted to know what he looked like as a young man, you should look at Rami, but not Shaya.
Not Shaya, no.
No, but also Dedushka would introduce us every time in shul. Doesn't matter if the person knows me since I was 2 years old. So this is my oldest granddaughter, Shayna, I'm Punim, and it was very fun.
Mm-hmm. He used to make my girls memorize, Chaviva is, and then the girls have to say Punim, and they'd have to name everybody.
Oh yeah, I remember this very good.
Anyway, well,
Ari had a great story when he was younger. He used to tell it in the first Escalade. I don't know if he remembers it, but that when you used to walk with Dedushka down the road, you could barely walk more than 2 feet without him stopping and saying hi to somebody else or knowing it's other friend or stopping and talking to everyone. Very much the theme of just spreading the joy through everyone in Anana. The candy person knew Dedushka better than anybody else. So go always with the grandchildren to get candy.
Even to this day, I'll be walking down a chuza and I'll meet people and they'll say that I look vaguely familiar or whatever, and they ask me about my family, and I tell my mom, because usually it's my mom that recognizes them, and then they would say, I knew your grandfather, right? And they'd be talking about Dedushka, and be the same people from the same path or who would walk by that same area. And even now there's people who still think of Dedushka, say just the Shimon from the toy store. He thinks of Dedushka more than anyone else when I see him.
That's true.
If I can add to that, I started going to get my hair cut at Arik, a local barber here in Ra'anana, when I think I was 7 or 8 years old. And the first time I went with Dedushka. And I still go to him to this very day. And well, every time I show up, we still talk about Dedushka. Every single time. That's just a small part of the impact he managed to leave behind. Even though we don't see him, we still remember him. Every time.
Dave, it's so good to see you. I did not see you for forever.
Natasha, you should come visit.
Oh, I think COVID is like, I don't even remember it exists anymore for the last 3 days. So now it's a good time to visit, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that we can't complete this whole Zoom without remembering how Dedushka used to take us to the candy store. For me, that was central to our relationship. Every single week, he would take you, me, and Ari to the candy store, and we would all be holding hands, and there's a photo of it, how we would go to the candy store, and then we could all pick out one thing, and it was usually like a lollipop, and then I would taste each other's lollipop.
Taste for taste.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Raya, I don't know if you remember, but the rest of us wouldn't go to the candy store, so because we were in school. So instead, we would place orders for the candy store.
Oh, I don't remember
that. We'd go up to him on Shabbos.
It began with Sunday presents, right? That was, and like that made sense for when we would see each other once a year. We would go to America, or they'd come to Israel. And then like every Sunday, he would go to the toy store and buy us presents.
Oh, Nathaniel, that started way before that.
I'm sure. But when he made
let me just say, when you were little, we lived in Passaic, and you lived in Long Island. It's an hour and a half away. You'd come every Sunday and every Wednesday, and every single Sunday he'd bring you guys presents every single week. So you should all appreciate that I've been trying to restrain myself. Okay.
So after he made Aliyah,
I've not been trying to restrain myself. I'm happy to visit children every day.
And bring presents.
No, it's the presents.
The presents.
Like the presents he would buy his presents every year for like months in the beginning, and like it would literally drain his pension buying these presents. So we moved to Sunday candy. So we'd all go together with Dedushka, and he would buy us candy for us and whichever friend wanted to tag along that day. And then when school started getting longer and we started, I would stay in school until 5 or something. Then I couldn't go to the candy store on Sunday, not even Monday. So I would tell Yair, hey, this is what I want a bag of gummy worms. And it continued on. And so like we'd place orders as long as we were still at home. Where, oh, this is what I want for Sunday candies.
I remember going up to Dedushka in Shul on Shabbos and saying, when you go to the candy store tomorrow, this is what I want. I want a gusher or whatever. I remember going up, giving him a hug and saying, this is what I want for Sunday.
But the best for our Kodesh.
Yeah, Kodesh, she used to take us out to a restaurant. There was a restaurant in your school that we used to go to. Every yeah. And whichever friends were chefs into Tagalog.
And we would get the lamb chops.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember Kareta Podana?
Of course.
Kareta
We would all
Podana.
march.
Habiba, do you remember?
We'll start marching. March 2, 3.
March 2, 3, 4. Habiba, do you remember on Thursdays we used to go to the hummus store and get hummus, and then we used to go to this little art gallery and we get these shiny art things, and then we would go to Babushka and Dedushka's house and have the delicious soup that I have not been able to recreate, and then we would do art with Babushka like every Thursday. That was like our routine.
He didn't have a lot of money, but he was very generous. When Beth lived here, he even took Beth's kids to the candy store. Remember, Beth?
I asked him once about it, and he said, better use it on my grandchildren than having lost it all when the economy collapsed.
He was a very hot man. He also knew how to be a very good father-in-law. He would disappear. The minute Yossi would open the door, he would go out the back way. And he never interfered, right?
He also knew how to be the best uncle. I think he was the best of everything. The best brother, the best son, the best father, the best grandfather, the best uncle. He was just the best.
Hi,
He
everyone.
never wanted anything for himself either.
Hi, everyone. We're going to interrupt. Matt Landau, Herb and Sylvia Landau are here. Sorry we were late. Dad was in the hospital yesterday. We're not going to hang out too long, but they wanted to say hi and be part of it.
Oh,
So,
wow. That's
Hi, sweetie. It's so good to see you. And I'm sorry I missed those pictures of the babies. Send them again.
I'll send them again. I'll send them again. But here, so here's some babies here. Guys, say hello to Aunt Sylvia and Irby.
It's great to see you, honey. And we think of you all the time.
Us also. Us
Say
also.
ditto.
What is the baby's name? She's adorable.
Which one are you looking at?
I'm not sure.
The one in the pink dress or the one in the blue? The pink dress is Nate.
This one's the Manila.
She's beautiful. She's beautiful. Lots of luck with all of them. They're all beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you've all been well through this terrible time we've been having with the pandemic.
Yes, thank God. We've all been well. Thank God. And you also, it's great to see you. And I'm sorry you were in the hospital, but it's good that you were back. So
well, it's good. He's out now. So
You think he's getting old?
She wouldn't know, thank goodness. Yeah. Herb celebrated his 95th birthday 6 months ago, and I'm celebrating my 90th in a month.
Amazing.
Yeah, amazing. It is amazing. It truly is amazing.
And you look wonderful.
Yeah, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful that the children live close to us because we really need them now. So, okay, this was so sweet that you let us know about this. I would have felt terrible if we missed it. But we came through at the last minute, so.
Here you are.
Okay, sweetie. Is Malky in the picture? I don't see her.
Yeah, Malky, say hi.
Oh, hi, Malky.
Where is she?
Yeah.
There she is.
Hi, Malky.
Hi, sweetheart.
And or
Beautiful family.
And then he's around here somewhere also.
Yeah, okay. Good to see all of you.
You also.
We're going to sign off. Thanks all.
Okay, good. Thank you, Mel.
Thanks for letting me know about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice seeing everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Okay, goodbye. We also have to go. Thank you, everybody. And I'll share the recording.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Love you.
Bye.